Hello there, good evening, and welcome to the Football Tribe YouTube channel. My name is Robert Kesakos, and thank you for tuning in from wherever it is that you tuned in from. Welcome back from all that Matchday 6 Premier League action from the different games between Saturday and Sunday. So, plenty of action across the Premier League, some key disappointments for some of your teams, and victories there. Manchester United are back. They are back after that 1-0 victory against recent companies Burnley, but that and more action is what transpired from the weekend. Manchester City are still firing. So let's dive right into all of it and we see what the results were and beyond. So, like I said, action kicked off at Crystal Palace where they shared the spoils with Fulham in a goalless draw. There wasn't plenty to separate the two sides, so they had to share a point each, and that's how it ended. Next game was Luton and Wolverhampton Wanderers. So these managed to score a goal apiece as they also shared the points on Saturday. So 1-1 it ended with Pedro Neto scoring the goal for Wolves there. He opened the scoring, but in the second half it was Carlton Morris who scored a penalty to restore parity for the newly promoted side there. So points also shared there, but Manchester City at the same on the other side at the Etihad Stadium were busy blowing away Nottingham Forest with their 2-0 victory there. Phil Foden on target there. Brilliant strike there. His left foot. Sweet strike too far away for Matana to catch there to give Manchester City the lead, while Braut Erling Haaland doubled that lead. So Man City put up quite a brilliant performance in the opening half, but were disappointed early on in the second half when they had Rodri, the midfielder there, with all his brilliance when he lost his cool and was given matching orders, given a straight red card for unsporting character, couldn't control his anger there, so he was sent off and he will miss the next 3 games for Manchester City since it was a straight red card. But that notwithstanding, they were able to hold off Nottingham Forest, who tried to play very well in the second half but couldn't create enough chances or goal scoring opportunities to restore parity or find a way past Manchester City. Brilliant stuff from Pep Guardiola's side, who are still perfect. 6 wins out of 6, and they have 18 points on board and still lead that Premier League table. So I thought it was a great performance from Pep Guardiola's side despite going down very early on in the second half down to 10 men. It looks like it didn't hurt them that much. So that was the action from the Etihad Stadium, and then later on we had Brentford lose by 3-1 against Everton. Now Everton quite surprised many of us, or almost everyone, with that 3-1 away victory against Brentford. It was Abdoulaye Diakore that opened the scoring for the visitors, but Matthias Jensen found a way back before James Tarkowski scored to restore Everton's lead, and eventually the substitute Dominic Calvert-Lewin putting the score beyond Brentford's grasp that they ended up losing. Thomas Frank will be quite disappointed with his side's performance there on the day, given that they were playing at home against an Everton side that had yet to win a single game in the Premier League this season. So it is on match day 6 that they got their first victory of the season to make it 4 points on their register. There will be, I think that moves them a bit closer to Chelsea, who only have 5 points, as we will see. But I thought it was a brilliant performance from that Everton side. Abdoulaye Diakore, very brilliant in that game, as was James Tarkowski, the captain there, leading by example to steer Sean Dyche's side to victory against Thomas Frank's Brentford. In the other game on Saturday, we saw Burnley lose at home against Manchester United. Now, Burnley, for me, were the better side in terms of creating chances, in terms of possession. They dominated the game, but Manchester United found the breakthrough with that brilliant long ball from John Evans, the returnee defender to Manchester United, who was making his start for Manchester United for the first time since 2015. You remember he left Leicester City after they had been relegated, so Manchester United signed him on a season-long deal, and he did start that game alongside Victor Lindelof. It was his long ball that found Bruno Fernandez with his sweet foot on the half volley, who scored to make it 1-0, and eventually that was the final score at the end of the 90 minutes. But Burnley, maybe they would have themselves to blame for not finding a way through. I thought they were the better side on the day, but they couldn't trouble United well enough to find a goal. So Manchester United are back to winning ways there with that 1-0 victory. They have a lot of concerns to worry about for themselves in terms of how they applied themselves, whether it was a tactic for manager Erik ten Hag to relinquish possession to a side like Burnley, who are at home and had yet to win a single game at home. Well, that's a story for another day, but I didn't think it would have been the case. Playing a side that has just been promoted, your Manchester United, you have all the big man mentality, the big team mentality to go at Turf Moor and win a game very convincingly, but I didn't think they were very convincing despite the victory there. But like football fans would like to say, a win is a win. Sometimes you have to win ugly, and they didn't play well, but they managed to get all the 3 points there. So we hope perhaps it would inspire them to play much better in their next game. But I thought Burnley did play very well. They are yet to win a game at home and in the Premier League overall, because they've conceded 12 goals now at home at Turf Moor, and that since the start of the season. You remember they conceded 3 against City, 5 against Spurs, 3 against Aston Villa, and 1 against Manchester United. So not a decent result for Vincent Kompany, but he will take some positives from the way they did apply themselves. They just need to be a bit more clinical with the few chances they create and capitalize on that dominancy of play. Then came Super Sunday, the much awaited Super Sunday that came with the huge North London derby between Arsenal and Tottenham, but we will look at that a little bit later. We will begin with the other results that saw Brighton beat up against AFC Bournemouth by 3 goals to 1. You probably did expect this one, given that Brighton are a much stronger side as compared to Bournemouth, but it was Bournemouth that did find the lead in the game through Dominic Solanke, the former Liverpool and Chelsea striker, gave Bournemouth the lead, but they could not hold on to it as they were forced into an own goal there through Kakez. Kakez scored in the back of his own net to restore parity, while Roberto Di Zerbi turned to his Japanese forward or winger Kaoru Mitoma, who came off the bench and scored a brace to win the game for Brentford. So 3-1 it finished there at the Amex Stadium. Very good result for Brighton there, sending them to 15 points so far this season. They've only lost 1 game and haven't drawn a single game. The other game was another huge disappointment for Mauricio Pochettino, as his Chelsea side lost to Aston Villa, with Oli Watkins scoring the only goal of the game. Now, Chelsea will have a lot of question marks on themselves, given the way they did apply themselves. They were at home, but they did not produce a performance good enough to deserve a point or 3 points on the day, and they eventually lost. So they have a lot of concern concerns. They did finish the game with a man down after defender Malo Gusto was sent off there in the game. But it's another defeat for the Blues. That's their third of the season. They've drawn 2 games and won 1, so it leaves them at 5 points. Very, very disappointing given all the investment they put in that team. Perhaps, like Mauricio Pochettino says, it is a process and we have to trust the process. But I must say, even during the course of the process, for a team the size of Chelsea, you must be able to pick up results against some teams as you build yourself up. They're still disappointingly not doing any of that, because if you remember, their draw against Liverpool was the first promising factor that we saw early on in the season, but could not back that much. Then went on to win against Luton Town, and ever since then things haven't been good for them. The other draw for them was against a side like Bournemouth, that you would expect that they do have the capability to be up against, given the player profile that they do possess. But unfortunately, it was another loss for Mauricio Pochettino against Unai Emery there. The other result saw Liverpool beat up against David Moyes' West Ham United by 3-1. Like I did mention in our preview, David Moyes as a manager doesn't perform well against the big sides, so they did lose this one. Although Liverpool did find the back of the net through Mo Salah in that penalty against the run of play, but they did go on to back their title credentials by scoring another 2 goals. But that wasn't after West Ham had found the equalizer through Gerard Bowen with that brilliant header, sort of caught Virgil van Dijk almost snapping when he headed that ball into the back of the net against an Alson Ramsey-Specker who had already served Liverpool a couple of times before Liverpool had taken the lead. So the other was Darwin Núñez, who made it 2-1 before Diego Jota finished things off on the day, put the icing on the cake to win it for Liverpool by 3-1. And then in the late kickoff for Sunday, Newcastle ripped Sheffield United to shreds in an 8-0 goal drubbing. So Sheffield just didn't show up, literally. They just didn't show up. The fans were bored to the extent that some had to read novels during the course of the game. It was that bad. So it was Shane Longstaff that opened the scoring before Dan Burn made it 2-0. It was 3-0 by halftime through Seven Botman. But in the second half, the likes of Callum Wilson, Anthony Gordon, Miguel Almiron, Bruno Gomarais, and Alexander Isak were the other names on the score sheet, as Ed Howe guided Newcastle to one of their biggest victories in the Premier League. So Sheffield United, I'm sure they will be quick to forget this if they are to better their chances of staying in the Premier League. Remember, we did predict that they will be relegated, and it is increasingly likely that it will end that way if they do not change anything, given the way they are playing. So 8-0 for Newcastle, that was the biggest result of the weekend. And finally, the North London Derby, a disappointing display for me, especially from the home side, that is Arsenal. I thought they didn't apply themselves well. 2-2 it finished between Arsenal and Tottenham. So Arsenal do not go away with any bragging rights in this one. It was that game that they weren't themselves. We didn't see any title credentials in that Arsenal side in the way they played. I thought Tottenham did dominate a play overall in that game. Jovis Bissouma was quite brilliant in that midfield, as well as Pape Matsar, James Maddison, quite brilliant, providing the 2 assists for Son and the captain there, who scored both goals for the visitors. It was Bukayo Saka's attempt at goal that was deflected by Christian Romero to make it 1-0 for the Gunners. But that is in the first half, but that lead was cancelled by Sonny's leveler. On the other side, James Maddison again. There was a lapse in concentration for Arsenal in terms of pressing on that ball before he plays it almost when Son was surrounded by three players, but managed to find the way to get that ball into the back of the net to level matters. And then in the second half, Christian Romero, a culprit there for his handball on Ben White's attempt at goal. He handled the ball and VAR eventually awarded a penalty after review, which Bukayo Saka converted brilliantly, sending that ball down into the middle and Vicario diving the other side. So 2-1 it was, but hardly 2 minutes, that celebration could have hardly sunk in for Arsenal and their supporters before Son leveled matters. Jorginho, who was a second half substitute there, replacing Declan Rice, who, according to Mikel Arteta, was feeling uncomfortable with what appears to be a back injury that, made a huge blunder, losing that ball, and then Tottenham went on to restore parity just in quick succession. So, very, very poor display. Mistakes did cost Arsenal on the day, but Tottenham deserved every point that they got away with. I did think that had Ange Postecoglou left on James Maddison and perhaps Son, they could have dared themselves to push for even all 3 points. But the substitution of Richarlison did not send that message on quite well. So it ended 2-2 in a disappointing performance for the title hopefuls. That's Arsenal, while Tottenham continued to show their huge signs of progress under the new manager there, the former Celtic manager, Ange Postecoglou. So that was the action from the Premier League this weekend. But elsewhere, the interesting games that I managed to catch included Barcelona beating up against Celta Vigo. Brilliant game there. If you didn't catch the game, you should run and watch those highlights there. Celta Vigo, under the charges of Rafael Benitez, there had a 2-0 lead by the 76th minute, and then Thiago Aspas is withdrawn, and then the game is turned on its head. Robert Lewandowski scoring a brace there at level matters before João Cancelo won it all. And the Madrid derby, Atletico Madrid blew away Real Madrid with a 3-1 victory. Alvaro Morata scoring a brace in that one, as well as Antoine Griezmann, the other name on target for Atletico Madrid, on the back of that 3-0 loss to Valencia, managed to beat Real Madrid by 3-1. It was the veteran midfielder Toni Kroos that scored the only consolation for Carlo Ancelotti's side. So, 2 brilliant performances and 2 brilliant games from the Spanish La Liga there that I thought if you didn't manage to catch, you should look out for those, highlights and get to see what transpired. Otherwise, that's it from me from the Football Tribe desk. Thank you for taking the time to watch this. Do not forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. And I'll see you next time in our subsequent videos. Thank you. Stay blessed.